After installing all of the required Genie 2000 software, we need to create at least one MCA input definition, so the software knows what kind of MCA is connected to our system computer. Each MCA input definition is saved as a single file called an MID file. For most systems, we can use the MID setup wizard to create this file quickly and easily. For a limited number of complex hardware configurations, an alternate program called the MCA Input Definition Editor must be used to create the required MID file. Specific setup instructions are included in the user's manual supplied with each type of MCA. After creating and saving a new MID file, communication between the MCA hardware and the system computer cannot be established until the new MCA input parameters are loaded into the Genie 2000 Runtime Configuration Database, which is controlled by the Virtual Data Manager application, or VDM. This happens automatically if the new MCA input definition is created and saved using the MID Setup Wizard. When using the MCA Input Definition Editor program instead of the MID Setup Wizard, a new MCA input definition must be manually loaded into the Runtime Configuration Database before it can be used, and it must be manually unloaded from the database before it can be edited or deleted. The scope of this do-it-yourself video is limited to creating and saving a new MID file for a special type of MCA called the I2K simulator. The sequential steps required to do this are identical to those required to create a new MID file for an actual Inspector 2000 MCA that would be connected to our system computer with a USB cable. Creating an MID file for an I2K simulator is worthwhile for the additional software demonstration and training operations this will allow. This special MCA simulates a fully functioning Inspector 2000 with realistic hardware adjustment controls and options for acquiring, displaying, and analyzing spectral data, all without having an actual MCA and detector connected to our computer. We will now show you how to create a new MID file for use in Genie 2000. To launch the MID Setup Wizard, use the Start menu on your PC to select that application from within the Genie 2000 Programs folder. The first screen of this application will show Step 1. Select MCA in the title bar. You must use this dialog screen to choose the appropriate MCA device for whatever new MID file you wish to create. For this tutorial, click on the plus sign to the left of the listing for USB MCAs and highlight the I2K simulator option. In this dialog screen and others to follow, clicking on the Cancel Action button will close and exit from the MID Setup Wizard. Furthermore, whenever the next action button is active, click on that button to advance to the next dialog screen. And whenever the back action button is active, click on that button to return to the previous screen. After highlighting the I2K simulator option, click on the next action button to advance to the screen titled Step 2, Configure MCA. The field labeled Device Serial Number is intended for entry of the unique serial number assigned to each actual MCA device. For this tutorial, enter 00001234 to designate the serial number of the simulated MCA. Then click on the next action button to advance to the screen titled Step 3, Configure Detector. For the field labeled Input Name, the default entry will appear as DET01. Replace that entry with DET1234. Then use the slide bar to decrease the displayed number of channels from the default value of 8192 to 4096. And then click on the next action button to advance to the screen titled Step 6, Configure High Voltage Power Supply. Don't worry, the MID Setup Wizard correctly skipped from so-called Step 3 to so-called Step 6 because the other possible intervening steps were not needed for proper setup of an I2K simulator MCA. This dialog screen is used to specify the maximum permitted voltage and the desired default voltage to be applied to an actual detector connected to an actual MCA device. The optimum operating voltage is listed on the specification sheet for each detector manufactured by Mirion. For this tutorial, use the slide bars to specify 3000 volts for voltage limit and 3000 volts for voltage, and then click on the OK button. You should notice that the displayed value in the voltage field changed from 3000 to 2998.8 volts. Accept these entries and click on the Next Action button to advance to the screen titled Step 7 Summary. In this dialog screen, the word Untitled will appear as the default entry in the field labeled MID file name, which should be changed to whatever unique character string you wish to use as the name of your new MID file. Assuming that a unique character string was previously entered for input name in the dialog screen titled Step 3 Configure Detector, it makes good sense to enter that same character string here for the MID file name. For this tutorial, enter DET1234 in this field. To complete MCA input definition process, click on the Finish Action button. If the entry in the MID file name field is identical to that of an existing MID file, you will be asked if you want to overwrite the existing file. Otherwise, the new MCA input definition will be stored as a new MID file in the /Genie2K/midfiles folder, and it will be automatically loaded into the Genie 2000 Runtime Configuration Database. You may be prompted if you would like to define another input. Answering yes will restart the MID Setup Wizard at the Step 1 Select MCA dialog screen, and answering no will close and exit from the MID Setup Wizard program. At this point, it would be prudent to test the new MCA input definition by launching the Genie 2000 Gamma Acquisition and Analysis application. Then using the File, Open Data Source option to open the newly defined detector data source named DET1234. Assuming you are able to select the detector data source named DET1234 from within the Open Data Source dialog screen, and you are able to open that data source without error, you have successfully created and saved a new MID file for an I2K simulator MCA. You could then perform a variety of additional Genie 2000 operations using that detector data source, including use of the MCA/adjust dialog to simulate the action of applying high voltage and adjusting the gain settings, acquiring spectral data, saving the acquired spectrum as a CNF file, analyzing the stored spectral data, and reporting the analysis results. This concludes our video demonstration on how to create a new MID file for use within Genie 2000.
For further assistance, please call 1-800-255-6370.